Podcast, HeatWrestling.com. I'm Derek Sabato here on the Extreme Cocktail Hour. Todd is Pod with Tod Gordon. As you can see, we are already joined by a very special guest, the man who's been all over the world, the whole reffing show, Mr. Bill Alfonso. Bonnie, how you doing today?
Devious Derek, I told you. Devious Derek, I told you. Fonzie equals ratings.
Fonzie equals ratings. And
big ratings. Big ratings on Todd's Pod. Thanks for having me on again. And I really enjoy coming on and talking. We had a lot to talk about. We just lost the Babe Ruth of professional wrestling. You know, the biggest name of them all. When I go to a party, my wife's a nurse. She should have been a doctor. So when I go to a party and with her doctor friends and, you know, and finds all doctors and nurses and, you know, medical field, I'm at a party with her. And it finally gets around to me and they say, "Oh, Fonzie, what do you do for a living?" I say, "Well, I'm in sports entertainment." And they usually say, what's that? And I say one word, one name. I don't say Ric Flair or Dusty or I say one name. Hulk Hogan. And they immediately get, and then I'm a center for attention for a while. They want to know all about the business. So, you know, that's the biggest name on the planet, Hulk Hogan in professional wrestling.
And I usually say Bill Alfonso. They get the same thing.
That's true. If you're dropping Fonzie's name at parties and they know who he is, you're in an extreme group of people. But yes, Fonzie, unfortunately, we did lose the Babe Ruth of wrestling this past week. The immortal Hulk Hogan is no longer with us. Todd, I want to start with you because it is Todd is Pod. Todd, we grew up in the Northeast. Hulk Hogan was the man in the Northeast, was he not?
100,000%. He drew every house here in Philadelphia to the Spectrum. He sold it out month after month after month. He was bigger than life itself. I can tell you that in I'm going to say maybe 86, he did the auto show here in Philadelphia, signing autographs. We stood in line, my 6-year-old son and myself, for almost close to an hour so he could meet Hulk Hogan. That's how big it was. Just so Hogan could sign his shirt. I remember Hogan picked him up in the air and then signed his shirt, and that kid was like he never came back down again. Went to Cloud 9. It was the greatest moment of his youth. That's how huge Hulk Hogan was.
You know, there's tons of stories like that, what you're talking about, Todd. And it's funny that Hulk Hogan was still relevant still relevant today. He was doing autographs and appearances and then, all kind of stuff and up till he died the last couple of months.
You know, yesterday I was traveling to Wildwood for convention. I was with Sandman and Francine. And we're talking about the fact that it's amazing that all these years later, 35 years later, ECW still has a legacy. And that after we're all dead, when people talk about professional wrestling, one of the things they'll talk about would be the legacy of ECW, because it's never going to go away if it lasted this long. And that's the same as Hulk Hogan. I'm not comparing ECW to Hulk Hogan. What I'm saying is his legend and legacy will go on long after he's passed.
Yeah, and that's why I'm still relevant today, is because of ECW, not because I was a 5-star referee, an international referee in Japan and everywhere, but I'm relevant today because of ECW.
Hulk Hogan got into the business in Florida for Eddie Graham and Hiro Matsuda. And Fonzie, is that where you first met Hulk?
No, he came in a couple years before me. I didn't start in Florida until 1980, but I went. I'm going to tell you about my children's book, how my childhood, and it ended up me being a part of wrestling in Florida. I used to go to wrestling and watch wrestling when I was 13 years old. I got hooked on it, and I wanted to become a professional wrestler. And then I think Hogan in the late 70s broke in, or somewhere in their mid-70s broke in, and Matsuda, he would go down to 106 North Albany, where Championship Wrestling from Florida, Eddie Graham's office was, and that's where we taped TV and so on. They had a ring there, and they would train guys there, and Matsuda stressed the hell out of them. I think Matsuda broke his leg on purpose, and he came back, and once he passed the test, and Jack Briscoe gave him his first pair of boots. He always reminds me about that. Jack Briscoe, one of my favorite wrestlers, gave him his first pair of boots to Hogan, and then Hogan was off to the races, man.
When was the first time you met him? Was it in Florida?
Probably in the 80s, and he came in and did something for Eddie Graham and at the Armory or something like that, and me being a Florida kid, we clicked instantly, you know, and he knew who I was, you know, and we did really good. And he really took care of me. He looked after me all these years, you know.
Yeah, he did.
Todd, when you think about the impact in the Northeast, it was Bruno Sammartino, then it was Hulk Hogan. No one in Philly really ever replaced Hulk in that Spectrum Core State Center era. He was the draw of draws for this city.
Yeah, Bruno was selling out the Philadelphia Arena, you know, 3,500 people every month. But when they got big and went to the Spectrum, which is like 15,000 people, they were still selling out, but only if Hogan was on the card. Hey, I remember going to the Spectrum and watching WrestleMania 1 on a movie screen.
Yeah, close circuit.
Wow.
Yeah, with my brother-in-law, absolutely. And we paid and we watched it like a movie, WrestleMania 1, 100%.
Was Hogan an impact for you to want to get into the wrestling business and you just never had the chance to work with him?
No, not at all.
Okay.
He was larger than life to me. I mean, to me, he was still like a superstar. We were like our gang in the backyard putting on a show compared to that. Now, obviously, we grew and it snowballed, and we were no longer that little, like, you know, nobody. But at the time, I never would have seen a parallel at all. As I said, he was something that everybody wanted to be, everybody looked up to, and he played it to the hilt, and he did it perfectly until Vince started making cartoons out of him. That's when, to me, that's when the aura came off.
One of my fun things to watch back in ECW, and this is going to be kind of a shot at ECW fans, and Fonzie, you were there for some of this. People like Sid would walk into the arena and everybody would shit on him, you know, before he got there. And then when he showed up at the ECW arena, everyone lost their mind. And everyone would have lost their mind if Ric Flair stepped on the stage at some point with Shane Douglas. Could you imagine Hulk Hogan walking in the ECW arena when ECW was at its peak,
Wow.
didn't see? What would that have been like?
You know, that would have been really interesting because the pop would have been instant because there was something like, holy shit. But then it would have been interesting to see how they turned on with that. Would they, you know, heal them completely afterwards? After they get the initial baby face pop? I'm not sure, but, you know, it was an anti-Hogan crowd at that point because
Yeah.
they had turned him into a cartoon character.
Fonzie, what could you imagine? Because we never thought we'd see Sid into the ECW or Extreme Championship Wrestling, and he did appear at some point, and that's the only one comparison I could make it to. But what would you imagine Hulk Hogan walking into the ECW arena like?
It would have blew the roof off the arena. You know, and then with ECW was anti-WWF, and then they were their own venue, their own crowd. But I think they would have bowed down to Hogan. I think
Speaking of
put him over.
Speaking of Hogan in arenas, you got to work a European tour with Hulk Hogan when you were with the WWF in the early 90s. What was your experience like working with Hulk when he returned back to the company in 1993?
Well, I was there in '93. I left WCW and went to WWF in '93 with Giant Gonzalez.
Yep.
And after a while, Giant Gonzalez got sick and had to retire and go back to Argentina. And he passed away at the age of 45. God bless him. And I was still there. Refereeing. And Hogan, and I remember Gorilla Monsoon saying Hulkamania was dead. Hulkamania was dead, and they put Hulk Hogan and Yokozuna on top on this European. It was 7 cities and 5 countries in 7 days. And Hogan said, "Fonzie, you want to go with me to Europe? Because I'm a Tampa kid." He liked me, and I said, "Hell yeah!" So he said, "Hey, I want Fonzie to be on this tour with me," and I got a huge payoff, and every house was sold out, just like you know, it was crazy. It was crazy.
You got a chance to be at WrestleMania 9 in Las Vegas when Hogan returned. But Hogan walks back in and ends up becoming the WWF champion, which was kind of this weird circumstance with Yoko and Bret Hart. What was it like? What's it like when Hulk Hogan walks into a locker room?
You know, everybody talks a little smack about Hulk Hogan, especially towards that era when they thought it was finished. But when he walked in that dressing room, man, he lit it up. Everybody put him over, kissed his ass, and try to get him to get a much better spot and so on and so on. But it was magical. Every time I was around Hogan, it was magical. And I did the one of his series, Thunder in Paradise, which was pretty cool. they wanted Giant Gonzalez on one of the episodes, and Vince told Hogan, "Well, Fonzie's his personal assistant, but I'm not paying for Fonzie to go down to do a movie, to do one of your series." And Hogan said, "I'll take care of Fonzie. Don't worry." Um, and he did. He paid me a fucking $1,000 a day to hang out with Giant Gonzalez and put me in a suite and gave me food money. And I was on one of the episodes. It was cool as hell, man.
When he came into the dressing room, is it true that he always had his own dressing room separate from the boys?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
That picture you have in the background of you, Hulk, and Giant Gonzalez, is that from Thunder in Paradise?
Yeah, that was on the set of Thunder in Paradise. Yeah, but I'd say it was around 93-ish. Or, whatever that series ran. It was a pretty little fit guy.
Follow up, Fonzie. Was there resentment in the locker room that he had his own locker room to compare to all the rest of the boys?
I think a lot of guys had their own locker room. Ric Flair, and they demanded that kind of stuff, but it was expected of a big star like that. I don't think there was too much resentment. Maybe there was a little resentment. Like,
you have 30 guys in one locker room, and then he has his own, and there's not resentment?
No, usually in those big buildings, Tots, there's multiple locker rooms. You know what I mean? And there's 4 guys over here to click over there, and of course Hogan would get his own locker room. I don't think it was that bizarre.
That sounds like the loser lodge to me.
Right?
I never thought I would hear the WWF locker room compared to the Econo Lodge, and I just now know that on Todd's pod there will be no other comparisons or any other shows that can make that comparison point. Todd, when Hogan would make his way into Philadelphia, especially at the Spectrum, and the pop he would get, and the impact he had on Prism. Prism wasn't a big station. They had the Flyers, they had the Sixers, but when the WWF ran and Hulk Hogan was on there, people would sign up to watch it on Prism, would they not?
Absolutely. Cal Rudman and Dick Graham were the announcers for Prism, who actually came and did very early Eastern Championship Wrestling TV. That's where I got those two from. Cal I knew through Variety Club. He was a very big name in terms of the record industry here in Philly and around the country, actually. But they were the announcers, and I used those same 2 guys for Eastern when we first got started. And whenever Hulk came to town, every news station was there. It was always a story. It was bigger than wrestling. People who were interviewing him for the news weren't really talking about wrestling. They were just talking about Hulkamania.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. Oh my God. I was going to tell you. I'm sorry.
The pop culture phenomenon in Philly, because he was a big part of that.
Oh. The Connie Chung show. I don't know if you're aware.
Oh, yeah, Connie Chung, yeah.
Yep.
They came to my house before I was in the business. I was on the precipice of the business. I was doing stuff with Joel Goodhart behind the scenes. And they came in here and filmed 6 hours of myself, my wife, and my kids watching the pay-per-view with Hulk Hogan as the main event. It's
really
CBS TV, 20-minute segment. It's on YouTube. You can find it anytime you want. And they were, the whole thing, you see my kids are this big, and they're going, Hogan. I mean, it's amazing. That's there for posterity, yeah.
Fonzie, did you get a chance to work any TV or pay-per-view matches with Hulk?
No, just that WrestleMania and that European tour that was, here's a picture. This is at the London Heathrow Airport. I don't know if you can really see who's on the card, but I can name all the guys on the card pretty quick. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, the Steiners, Mr. Fuji, Hogan, Fonzie, Bastion Booger, of course, Jimmy Hart, and a couple more guys.
Fonzie, where was the picture taken of you and Hogan both flexing together?
That was on the set of Thunder in Paradise.
Where's that picture? There, you got it?
Fonzie just had it up. There you go, Fonz.
Well, I cropped the Giant out one time. So we're just being Hogan,
I'm surprised you didn't crop out Hogan too.
Hogan said, "Oh, Fonzie, always promote yourself because they are, you know what I mean." So I took his advice and promote myself, and I sell all kind of stuff, and I make these ECW jackets, and that's why I'm still relevant. I'm promoting myself all the time to keep getting on these shows.
He was the master of that, buddy.
Yeah. And he kept insisting that I do that, He said, Fonzie, you're not a big name. You're not a big guy. Just keep pushing. And he loved the ECW stuff. And recently, I did a double knockout with him. And I was, you guys know, I can't think of the guy's name. He's like an agent in AEW. Is that a QT Marshall?
Yes.
Okay, he's an agent there. So I'm working for this company in Florida called CCW, and they were bringing the name now and then. They brought in QT Marshall, and they said, "Oh, Fonzie, your name's come up in the dressing room in AEW." I said, "Well, what do I do?" He said, "Just wait, So a month later, he comes back and does another show with us. He said, "Oh, your name came up again." And I said, "What do I do? Can I call the guy, or should I come down to to one of the shows?" He said, "Just wait." So I did a double knockout with Hogan at the airport or wherever. And he said, "Bonzi, why aren't you doing, why aren't you in AEW? I said, "Well, they're talking about me right now." So he said, "Do you want me to call the guy who owns it? What's his name?"
Tony Kyle.
"Yeah, you want me to call Tony for you?" I said, "No, because they're talking about me. So let's play it out. But I will call you if I need you." Hogan, he said, "Please do."
Now, so Fonzie has his own manner of speaking. Once you get to know him, you understand what he's saying. So when he says I had a double knockout with Hulk Hogan, he's saying I ran into him somewhere, we bumped into each other. That's his double knockout. Most people think that means you both got knocked out unconscious. That's just a Fonzie-ism. And you got to love every Fonzie-ism, but that's definitely one that he's been saying since 1990 something.
Fonzie, was that the last time you saw Hulk?
I might say it was. It was. And this was recently in the last year. And he lived 30 minutes from me. He lives in Clearwater. I'm in Tampa. So,
I'll ask this to Todd first. Todd, what's your favorite memory of Hogan?
Wow, that's tough. I mean, I guess him bursting on the scene and, after having seen him as a heel his whole career, especially in the WWF,
Yeah.
he came in there with, Fred Blassie, etc., through his match with Andre till him leaving, doing Thunder Lips, coming back. His first coming back, I guess, and shocking the world and taking that Bob Backlund title and injecting life into it and taking it off on the Sheik in Madison Square Garden. The very beginning of it was, to me, the highlight for me.
Fonzie, what's your favorite memory of Hulk?
every time I saw Hulk Hogan, he always pulled me aside and put me over. Every freaking time. I don't know, it was because I worked for Eddie Graham, and that's where we both broke in, basically, and I was there for 10 years, and he knew my whole career, Florida Championship Wrestling, and my move to WCW and WWF and ECW. He mentioned ECW to me a couple of times. Loved it. So I loved him for always putting me over in front of all the boys too, and make sure I was always taken care of.
Derek, you realize it now. How many matches have you seen in your lifetime where someone's got the sleeper on, or whatever the case may be? They lift the arm 1, 2, and on 3 they stop. Yeah, that was his gimmick, and now you see it everywhere. I mean, that was his gimmick, and every wrestler imitated that in one level or another.
I can tell you, I remember the first time I saw Hulk in person was on a Monday Night Raw, and this is how, obviously, the world changed for professional wrestling, but it was Hulk Hogan, John Cena, and Batista taking on Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Ric Flair in a dark match after a Monday Night Raw taping at the First Union Center, I think it was at the time, and I had never seen Hulk in person and had the opportunity to go. And
had he been on the show that night earlier?
he had done a backstage segment, but the music never hit. He never came out. So the first time it hits, he's the last one out. He's the last baby face. You had Hunter, you had Flair, you had Michaels, Batista, Cena all do their entrances, and then it's Hogan. And that music hits. And I think I was 22 at the time. And, I've grown up in Hulk, but the experience of hearing the music and seeing him walk down the aisle and do the ear and do the gimmick and do it all, it resonated and it brings you back to being a kid. And I think the cool thing about what someone passing away, never cool, but the aspect of Hulk passing away is everyone gets to relive their greatest memories. And that to me is my favorite. Fonzie, what is your piece of advice you got from Hulk that resonated with you more than anything?
Always promote myself, always be on time, fucking do the best you can. Uh, just good advice and more like a friend, you know what I mean? Just good general advice in life.
Do you think Hulk has gotten a bad rap over the years for politics and things like that, and that wasn't the Hulk you knew?
Every big celebrity gets a bad rap, and sometimes he did more good than bad. Of course, he had a couple segments where he fucked up and did some stupid shit, but we all do that. He just done more good. He's so generation. I think he went through like 3 or 4 generations of kids.
Yeah.
And you're one of them, and me too. We all grew up with him.
When you think about his run from the 80s to just this year being on WWE Raw, the Netflix kickoff, that's 45 years of being on TV. How stellar is that?
That's incredible.
Yeah,
he
not a
touched-
lot. Not a lot of us have done that.
And he touched everywhere. He was a national hero, him on MTV, the Boom.
Johnny Carson.
I mean, you name one of the staples of pop culture in the last 45 years, he's been a part of that. Tod.
Does The Rock or Cena or Austin ever do a movie without a Hulk Hogan coming in first?
I don't think so.
No, he made wrestling mainstream. That was the biggest thing anybody's ever done.
And I don't agree with these people that say the Rock's the biggest star in the wrestling, or Steve Austin or Shawn Michaels. It's Hulk Hogan. How can they compare those guys to Hulk Hogan? They can't.
It's
I don't
interesting
think so.
to me. It's interesting to me the way people have framed that conversation about Hulk didn't do it. Hulk wasn't the best wrestler, things like that. Hulk was on top starting in 1982 for Verne Gagne in Minnesota and never stopped being on top. Every time he came back, and we're talking 30 years later, back even to the tens, when he would come back just for these segments, he was still a main event star, still an attraction. I don't know you'll see that of Steve Austin. Listen, Austin's about to reach 30 years from his peak, and he came back at WrestleMania and had a big thing. The Rock is still going 30 years later, but Hulk did it a long time, a lot of time, and he did it on the road for a good 10 years straight. There's nothing much you could compare to what Hulk did compared to what anybody else did.
Well, it goes back to my saying earlier when I go to a party with my wife and there's doctors, and then finally gets to me, say, "Oh, Fonzie, what do you do for a living?" And I say, "Well, I'm in sports entertainment." And then I say Hulk Hogan. I don't say Steve Austin or Shawn Michaels. I say the word Hulk Hogan, the name Hulk Hogan. And then everybody knows what I do. Oh, you're in that. Oh, my God. And I'm sending for attention for a while.
You're talking about what you do for a living. And I was just talking to Sam, and I said to him, when people ask you what you do for a living, your answer should be entrances. Yeah, that's all he does is entrances. He gets paid now to come out, get some music, whack, 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 and leaves. Never wrestles, never works, and that's what he does for a living, entrances.
He just got that huge pop in Sabu's last match. We didn't know it was going to be Sabu. Talking about another legend in his own, in his own way, Sabu, who just passed. When they built it as his last match at the barbed wire mat for GCW, and they had me come out and Sandman. When Sandman's music hit, he got the fucking biggest pop of the night,
Oh,
and he did his entrance, was up there in the balcony and walked down and doing his beer and smack,
and I know it's great to be, the people always say, so especially Sabu used to say, nothing worse than Sandman making a save for you, because it takes him 10 minutes to get to the ring while you're getting killed in the ring. You go, come on, Sandman, get here already. Jesus.
Right.
He's got to get his pop. I mean, it's the gimmick. You said it. He's entrances, so he's got to do it.
Yeah, that's what people want. That's what they want, that entrance, man.
Speaking of what people want, Todd, you had quite the interesting week down in Wildwood. How was the convention with the stars of wrestling yesteryear?
It's interesting. They were like at one end, and myself and Sandman and Francine and others were at the other end. And I'll tell you what, that Tommy Fierro, give him credit. He's an independent promoter in the area, Jersey, you know, and he's got a store. He drew a hell of a crowd. I mean, he draws crowds to all
On a
these
Tuesday night. On a Tuesday night.
in Wildwood, New Jersey. You know, who knows who's there, who's not there, but he draws everywhere and he works his butt off. I mean, I give mad props to that to that guy. He's a terrific promoter, and he does it. ISPW does very well. Another one like that would be Johnny Cashmere. He's got that SPO wrestling, and now he's trying to bring back PWUIC, and he's got a wrestling school as well. And I would tell anyone who's looking for a wrestling school, that could be the wrestling school to go to. Look up Johnny Cashmere in South Jersey. His wrestling school is going to be one of the better ones around. His old wrestling school produced plenty of stars.
Fonzie, what do you got going on upcoming?
Well, I'm in Miami at the name of the venue is The Heat. They're running these breweries all over the country right now, and they're doing really good. It holds about 500 people, and this company I work for, CCW, they're selling it out, standing room only, 500 plus for an indie show. That's pretty freaking good, and they do that every first Saturday of the month. They have been doing it for years. I got AIW coming up in Cleveland. I got AAWA in Maryland coming up. I'm working these shows all over, and I do a lot of WrestleCons and stuff like that. It's been pretty cool. I almost work every freaking weekend. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And overseas, Fonzie, you checked out Valor Wrestling yet? VALOR. They are the next ECW. Trust me. These kids are amazing. They work their ass off. They're starting out with the bar shows and up, but you check out Valor Wrestling. I'm telling you.
We'll send a link out. We'll send a link out on social media this weekend. Speaking of this weekend, it's a big weekend. It's SummerSlam weekend. Todd, what do you think of the show that the WWE's put together for this August festivities?
Kind of weak.
Weak isn't the word for it. It's horrendous. I mean, I feel like the card is like a Monday Night Raw card or Saturday Night Main Event card. How they can turn two out of the 2 nights in a stadium that holds 50,000 people? I guarantee you they don't sell out either night. Those cards are horrendous. They took their top stars, all of them, threw in the tag team matches. There's no draw either night. The crowd that's there bought tickets months ago or a year ago, expected to have this super card that doesn't exist. There were so many things they missed the boat on, and there's nothing on either night's card that's riveting. I mean, they did an angle last night to set up a tag team match, so they're taking 4 of their top stars there and putting them in a tag. It's like thrown together. It's really disappointing. I can't imagine that Seth Rollins' injury caused all the snowball effect. I think it's got to be a lot more than that. It's a lack of planning.
What is their WrestleMania next year going to, or, the next WrestleMania going to be like? Who's going to be on this,
Too early.
Well, I don't see any big names that's going to be on it. The Rock won't be on it. The Steve Austin won't be on it. And the other kid, what's his name?
Cena's going to be
John Cena. I don't think he's going to be on it.
No, they'll build up Braun Breaker by then to a point where he's shooting.
Who?
Braun Breaker.
Who?
Steiner's kid.
Who?
Oh, Fonzie. You got to watch the shows at least.
They're getting there.
Right.
One of my favorite parts of the show is getting Todd all ramped up. And Todd, I gotta ask, do you have an extreme rant for the week ready for us?
I do an extreme rant. I was watching maybe a week or so ago when Roman Reigns came in to save Jimmy Uso or Jay Uso.
Jey Uso.
And as he's running down, the only thing I'm seeing are red sneakers. I can't stand the fact that wrestlers are now wearing sneakers to the ring instead of boots. So when they lay those kicks in, you don't get the same kick him with a sneaker. Well, what happened? He used to kick him with a boot. You knew those boots were like hurt. Now it's like they're wearing tennis shoes. I hate the fact they've taken that away. The guys still wear boots. They still look tough. The guys come out in sneakers. And I said this again yesterday to Sandman. He goes, I wore sneakers. I go, yeah, and I hated that. It sucked. No wrestler should go to the ring in sneakers. It's just like cheap B-level wrestling when you do that. You should go out there like looking like a wrestler, like a professional, not running out to see what color your sneakers are so that you can sell them eventually. It's horrible.
You know,
Maybe one guy can wear sneakers, like John Cena when he first started. He had that gimmick, that
he wears
maybe
boots.
one guy, but there's multiple guys that are wearing, tennis shoes. And
Cena wears boots.
Now he does. He wore sneakers in the beginning.
Right.
It's interesting because they actually turned that into a gimmick. They stole Roman Reigns' Nikes on Monday Night Raw. Is this where we're at now?
That could, by the way, had he been wearing boots and he took them, yeah, that would have been
taking hours.
Whoa. Unfortunately, but that would have been like, whoa. I thought that was interesting, actually, because I hadn't seen anybody else do it before. Anytime I see anything that I haven't seen anybody else do before, to me, that's intriguing and interesting.
Yeah.
So that to me at least was interesting, but I hate the idea that they're laying kicks in with their Adidas. It just isn't the same thing. Like, I want to get my sneakers right now and go, hey, Eric Gordon's, got to buy them. And it's like, come on, man. Are they going to start selling their own version of sneakers soon? Is that next?
They are. It is now a thing. They're starting to come out with sneakers and sneaker lines, and WWE's got them, AEW's got them, but you can get your own Tod Gordon merchandise over at ProWrestlingTees.com/Tod Gordon. We got the Tod is Pod shirt. The Godfather of Extreme shirt is available. You can get them purchased from ProWrestlingTees.com/Tod Gordon. I forgot, Frank, thank you again for another week of the opening theme song here for Tod is Pod. Tod is God is available at bookstores, online. You can get your copy just like Fonzie does right there. He's got the nice copy, and this was the Extreme Cocktail Hour. Folks, I know we talk about ECW on this show. We will get back to ECW next week. We are going to be talking about one of the bigger events in ECW history, WrestlePalooza 1995. The Loop in Florida, where Taz breaks his neck, unfortunately.
The fans break the ring.
And the fans break the ring. Public Enemy brings the fans into the ring, smashes the ring apart. The Sunshine Network, Cactus Jack turns heel in the ECW arena. Axl Rotten leaves. The Steiners debut. Sunshine Network pulls the ECW TV show. Big Dick Dudley debuts. Whole lot to discuss. The end of 1995, the summer of 1995 for ECW. And stay tuned. Just like Fonzie is a guest this week, we will be having some more guests coming in the next couple weeks. We have talked to Gary Wolf, the former Pitbull. We'll be having him on. Francine will be coming on. There's Fonzie with the crimson mask in front of the ECW banner. Francine, Todd, did you talk to the Sandman recently?
Yeah, he said you're a loser, but he said he'd still come on the show.
That's fine. Well, I'll take that as long as Hack gets here, as long as he's not swinging a cane. And
I love Sandman.
Me too.
And I love Francine. Those two big assets are my favorite.
And that's going to be it for this week here on Tod is Pod. I want to thank everyone for joining us here on podcastheatwrestling.com. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, follow Fonzie online, Alfonso Bill on social media. I'm at Derek Sabato, and that's at ECW Tod Gordon. Hit subscribe, hit like, leave a comment, leave a question. We will get to as many as we can here on podcastheatwrestling.com. We'll see you next week on Tod is Pod right here from podcastheatwrestling.com.
See ya, Daddy.